Tonight's broadcast is sponsored by Audible, the world's largest audio and spoken word entertainment company. Let me ask you, spooks and spookettes, who loves audiobooks? Well, your count does. How about podcasts or theatrical performances? I mean, that goes without saying. Audible allows you to listen to your favorite novels as well as other forms of spoken word entertainment and podcasts, theatrical performances, and Audible originals that you cannot get anywhere else. Go to audible.com/Drahoon today to sign up and get your first credit absolutely free. Again, that's audible.com/Drahoon.
Tonight's guest stars: Will Lasley, C.J. Walton, Ryan Parrow, Travis Holmes, Gregory Lannom, Alex Maynard, and Drew Hinds. And your host, the only vampire who met Napoleon and the Duke of Wellington in the same day, Count Drahoon.
Good evening, spooks and spookettes. Count Drahoon here, and it is time for yet another feature of fright. This evening we conclude our radio theater production of House on Haunted Hill. But before we do, we must take care of the castle-keeping notes. If you like Count Drahoon's feature of fright, consider becoming a patron through our Patreon. Join the ranks of the undead, along with Yancey Pearson, Morgan Mitchell, Rhonda Gentry, Lucas Lanius, Nicole Johnson, Courtney O'Halloran, Tyler Laney, Brian Vierling, and Stephen Duke. Become a $10 a month patron this month for a chance to watch our episodes early, in addition to getting them ad-free and your own t-shirt. Of course, tonight's show would not be possible without our sponsor.
Pulp Factory is a monthly short story contest with an e-zine that harkens back to the golden age of horror and science fiction literature. It is a place for artists to vie for publication and bragging rights and hone their craft through friendly competition. Once a month, Pulp Factory publishes a piece of inspirational pulp art. Writers then put together original works inspired by our prompt art. These stories and this process throws back to the way that pulp magazines churned out some of the best genre literature of all time. It's a place for writers and artists to flex their muscles. It's a place for fans to get to see the best in indie, underground, and up-and-coming writers. Come and celebrate the weird, the macabre, fantastic, and the amazing with us. Pulp Factory e-zine. You can find us on Facebook and on the web.
Also, we have the winner of our guessing game. And the winner is
Nicole Johnson.
Congrats! We will be sending you our scare package via the mail. And now, let us get into the heart of the matter, and hopefully you won't feel the need to drive a stake through it. When we left off last month, we met eccentric millionaire Frederic Loren, who invited 7 strangers to a party at the house on Haunted Hill, a house notorious for having been the site of several gruesome murders, one of which was the brother of Watson Pritchard, previous owner of the house. Loren wants to pay each of his guests $10,000, provided that they are able to stay the night. Already strange things have begun to happen. The chandelier almost falling on Nora Manning, blood dripping from the ceiling onto Ruth Bridgers, and the presence of a strange woman who is presumably a ghost. This is just an appetizer of things to come. Let us continue with House on Haunted Hill.
Midnight, Lance.
Okay, I'll be down in a minute.
Knock, knock.
Who is it?
Your host, my dear. Almost midnight. We're all going to get together in the living room.
All right, Mr. Loren. I'll be right down. Just need to go to my case and... Ah!
Quick, come. Come with us. Come with us. Or he'll kill you.
Where's Nora? Miss Manning?
Ah!
Where have you been?
I don't want to stay here.
What happened, Nora?
Look, they're there.
That's Jonas Slides and his wife. They've been caretakers here for years. She's blind, you know.
I'm not staying here.
Doctor, it looks as if we have a case of hysteria on our hands.
I think she's just a little upset is all, not hysterical.
Annabelle?
Good evening.
Hello, dear. These are our guests. Ruth Bridgers, Nora Manning, Dr. Trent. You know Watson Pritchard, of course. And this is Lance Shroder.
Get me out of here.
What about the $10,000?
I don't care. He wants to kill me.
Who wants to kill you?
Mr. Loren.
May I please have your attention? This is my big soliloquy. I think you remember the bargain we made if you stay all night. 10,000 apiece. If any of you don't survive, 50,000 will be divided between the rest. If I should die, you will be paid by my estate. When the caretakers lock the door from the outside, we'll be forced to stay in this house until morning. If any of you decide not to stay, now you must leave with the caretakers. You can't change your mind later because there'll be no way to get out.
I'm not going to stay.
Wait.
Ah!
It's not midnight yet. Who told them they could leave?
They never leave before midnight.
Well, they're gone. I was going to ask you whether you wanted to stay here or not, but the caretakers made the decision for you. We're all locked in.
But I don't want to stay.
I'm sorry, my dear, but it's too late now.
Oh my God, haven't you had enough of this silly games, Frederic? Get some cars up here and let these people go home. But pay them first.
This is your party, remember? In spite of my wife's faith in my ability to do the impossible, there's no way to get out of this house until 8 o'clock in the morning. But we have some party favors. This is my wife's idea, although I think it's rather dangerous. I suppose you know how to operate these things. In case you don't, you just press your thumb down this side, and then pull the trigger. You see, they're loaded.
These are no good against the dead. Only the living.
Take it.
Here's yours, dear.
I don't need it.
It was your idea. Who knows, you may want to use it on me before the night is over.
Throw these things away. They won't do you any good.
You don't approve of our party favors, Doctor?
Suppose Nora here had had a gun when she mistook the blind woman for a ghost.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else is gonna walk around in total darkness.
Oh, I'm sure we're not gonna run around about the house shooting each other, aren't you?
Who knows? Fear makes people do amazing things.
You said your sister-in-law killed a man and a woman here and cut them up? You said they found hands and feet, but never found any heads? Would you like to see one of those heads, Mr. Pritchard? Do you?
What are you talking about?
Well then, come on. Just go look at my suitcase. That's all, just go look.
Nothing.
It was there, a woman's head.
Nora, I think you're a little upset. Would you like, perhaps, a sedative?
Get out! Get out, all of you!
Do you think it's all right to leave her by herself, Doctor?
Sure. But I just wish she would have taken the sedative.
So, what do you suppose she thought she saw?
They're closing in on her.
Don't you think someone ought to stay with her?
There could be 1,000,000 people around her. But if they wanted her, they'd get her.
But what if he's right?
He's too drunk to know what he's talking about.
I wonder. I'll join you in a minute.
Do you think it would do any good if you went in and talked to Nora?
A thing like that would put me right over the edge.
Would you stay up here? I mean, just in case she needs help.
All right. I'll be in my room if...
Thanks.
Say, are you sure there are only 7 people in this house?
Positive. Except for the ghosts.
Yeah, well, I don't believe in ghosts, nor in frightening women. In Nora's case, it has gone a little bit too far.
What do you suggest we do about it, Doctor?
Don't frighten her anymore.
Later that night, Lance returned to Nora's room.
Nora, it's me. Nora. Where is she? The head? What do you know about this?
It's my sister's head.
What do you know about it?
They've taken her. In a little while, she'll be one of them.
Where is she? Where's Nora?
It's too late. You'll never find her again.
If you know where she is, tell me now.
She's gone. Gone with them. There's nothing you can do.
Nora? Oh my. She hanged herself.
Let her down. You could have been a bit gentler. Let's go ahead and bring her to her room.
Was it Nora?
No, it was Mrs. Loren. She's dead. Your wife hanged herself.
Suicide.
He tried to kill me. He grabbed me and choked me and put me in that room. Shut the door and went away and left me.
Who?
He thought I was dead.
Who?
Mr. Loren!
Are you sure about that?
I don't know. It was dark, but it must have been him.
Has anyone seen you since he left you?
I heard people in that room, but I went by and nobody saw me.
Ms. Loren is dead. Loren said she committed suicide, but I think somebody killed her.
Him?
I don't know.
I'm sure you've come to the same conclusion that I have. Let's all have a meeting. Discuss what to do. Living room?
Sure, in a minute. I've got to go downstairs. Lock the doors and don't let anybody know you're in here. If he thinks you're dead, he won't come here. I'll be back as soon as I can. You'll be all right. If you have to, use the gun.
Meanwhile, in the Loren's room.
So beautiful. And so greedy. So cold. So... What the... Pritchard, what are you doing here?
Wait. Oh, wait, nothing, wait.
What do you mean coming in here?
I didn't want them to take her away.
You're drunk.
They will. They will if you don't watch her.
You're drunk.
They have before.
Come out with it. Why'd you come into the room?
Because I'm the only one who understands.
Understands what?
Your wife isn't there anymore. She has already joined them.
Pritchard, I've heard enough of your spook talk.
After this altercation, the guests moved into the living room.
What's her name? Nora?
I didn't disturb her since I don't think this concerns her. Mr. Loren, isn't there some way to get out of this house now?
No, none at all.
We could try breaking out.
The only door to the outside is made of steel. The bars of the windows are set in solid stone. We've got to stay. Stay until they've finished with us.
I'm not afraid of your ghosts, Pritchard, but I am afraid. When we came here a few hours ago, the only thing we had in common was the $10,000 we would get. Now, however, we share something else, the death of Mrs. Loren. So far tonight, one of us was almost killed by a fallen chandelier. One of us has been mysteriously slugged. One of us has been driven to the brink of absolute hysteria, and one of us is dead. Were these accidents? Suicide? And must we stay in here for another 6 hours?
6 hours, 6 of us, time enough.
Who will be next then? And how will it happen?
Let me ask you a question, Doctor. You were the first to see my wife there. Did you also see anything she could have climbed up on and then jumped? Did any of you? There was nothing. How then did she get up there so high?
Exactly, Mr. Loren. How? She couldn't have pulled herself up there. She couldn't have dropped from the ceiling. What, do you think your wife killed herself?
No, she was murdered. By one of you.
Or you, Mr. Loren? To deliberately kill someone, you must have a reason.
We were all strangers to your wife. You alone could have had a motive for murder.
What husband hasn't at some time wanted to kill his wife? And what husband hasn't had 1,000 opportunities to do it in such a way as never to be suspected? I'm not so stupid as to hang my wife from the ceiling by a rope.
And yet the fact remains that you, or one of us, murdered your wife. And that's a matter for the police.
Okay, so how do we get the police?
That's my point. We can't, not until morning. What began as a silly party given by an eccentric with too much money on his hands has now involved us all in a murder.
Another murder?
Why not? Suppose one of us saw too much.
Why would even a millionaire give each of us $10,000 to spend one night in a gloomy old house? Just to see some ghosts? Have a party? No.
Have you finished trying me, Doctor? And is your verdict guilty of murder?
This isn't getting us anywhere. Somebody killed Ms. Loren, we know that. Somebody's guilty, but the rest of us are innocent. Okay, what we've got to do for the next 6 hours is protect ourselves from each other.
Do you really think?
I don't think anything. I just know that I'm going up to my room. And if anybody comes in, I'll shoot him. Or her.
If we all stay in our rooms until morning, we'll be safe because the innocent will have no reason to leave his room, and the guilty will admit his guilt if he or she does.
And we've all got phasers. I mean guns.
Odd slip. Agreed?
Oh, I wish this night was over.
Rooms, guns. I tell you, it doesn't make any difference. They aren't through with us yet. What's the use in saying goodnight?
Yeah, well, good night.
Good night, Doctor.
As time passed, the tension began to set in, as well as very strange occurrences, such as candles blowing out mysteriously, and blood dripping from the ceiling.
Not again. Ah!
At the height of the phenomena, a storm began to brew.
Nora, it's me. You okay? They've all gone to their room, locked themselves in.
Lance, I've been thinking. It was so dark down there. Maybe it wasn't Mr. Loren.
It was him, all right. He tried to kill you, and he did kill his wife.
How can you be so sure?
His wife tried to warn me. She asked me to help her. The doctor thinks he's going to try to kill one of us. There must be a way out of this house, and I'm going to find it and get the police before he does.
I want to go with you.
If he finds out you are alive, Nora, you're safer here than anywhere. Just lock the door and keep quiet. If I can find a way out, I'll come back and get you. You'll be all right.
No! It's a rope snake! Mrs. Loren, go back to being dead. I didn't sleep with your husband. Ah! Lance! Oh, Lance!
While Nora saw the apparition of Annabelle, Dr. Trent came back to Frederic Loren's room.
An admission of guilt, Doctor?
Certainly not. There's either someone else in this house or one of us has left his room. You didn't hear anything?
Organ music?
That and someone walking.
You've got your gun.
Yes. You look downstairs and I'll look up here.
Why not together?
There may be only minutes, seconds left of someone's life. Why waste a precious moment's time?
While Loren went downstairs, Trent made a detour to Annabelle's room.
It's almost over, darling. Every detail was perfect.
What's happening?
We've done it. The perfect crime. Beautiful.
Has she killed him?
Not yet, but she will.
Well, get me out of this hanging harness. What time is it?
At first, I couldn't make Nora want to protect herself with the gun. But after you appeared at the window, everything began to work just as we had planned. You were wonderful. Just the touch that finally drove her into complete hysteria.
It'll be worth all the planning, darling. Now, where's Nora? What's happening?
She's on her way down to the cellar, so scared that she'll shoot the first thing that moves.
Where's Frederic?
On his way to the cellar now, too.
David, do you think anyone will suspect us?
Of what? An hysterical girl accidentally shoots somebody? Who would suspect that we planned it all that way? That we drove her into it?
Well, how about my suicide?
Just a little ghost party gag. We'll claim it was a dummy since I'm the only one who touched you.
What about the caretakers?
They had no idea what they were doing.
Well, what about Nora herself? She's not stupid, you know.
Darling, believe me, everything we planned is working perfectly. Nora is sure Frederic murdered you. She thinks Frederic attacked her in the cellar, not me. And right now, Nora is almost out of her mind with fear. I tell you, when Frederic walks in there where she is, she'll shoot him right dead.
Well, it's taking too long. You ought to be up there, David.
When you hear the shot, come down to the cellar.
You!
Wait, Nora! Don't!
Eat dirt and die, trash!
Excellent. Into the vat you go.
David! David! David, where are you? David, he's coming for me! He's rising from the acid vat! He's skeleton! David, save me! Save me! Ah!
At last you got it all. Everything I have, even my life. You're not going to enjoy it. Come with me, murderess. Come with me. Good night, Doctor. The crime you and my wife planned was indeed perfect. Only the victim is alive and the murderers are not. It's a pity you didn't know when you started your game of murder that I was playing too.
The guests upstairs could hear the screams, and naturally it raised them out of their rooms.
There must be a way. Some way to get in here.
It's along here somewhere.
I shot Mr. Loren. He's down in the wine cellar.
Alive?
I don't think so. It's him! He's alive!
You didn't shoot anyone, dear. I loaded your gun with blanks. I can tell you now that my wife and Trent were planning to kill me. They failed. Trent tried to throw me in the vat, and she stumbled and fell. I'm ready for justice to decide if I'm innocent or guilty.
Now there are 9. There will be many, many more. They're coming for me now. And then they'll come for you.
And there you have it, spooks and spookettes. We hoped you enjoyed our radio production of one of my personal favorite horror tales. Of course, this tale would not have been possible had it not been for the peculiar participation of my merry mob of mayhem, Will Lasley as Frederic Loren, Travis Holmes as Dr. Trent, Ryan Parrow as Watson Pritchard, Drew Hinds as Ruth Bridgers, Alex Maynard as Nora Manning, Gregory Lannom as Lance Shroder, and C.J. Walton as Annabelle Loren.
Oh, hey, yo, for real though, who played the old woman?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, we all saw it.
I can't
Are
say
you
we were
crazy?
there, but like,
I saw it.
yeah, we all. Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Wait a
Am
minute,
I
wait a
crazy?
minute. People, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh God.
Now they're coming for me. And on that note, that's all the time we have. But be sure to join me next time for yet another feature of fright. Until then, as far as things go, when things go bump in the night.
There are such things.
Don't go anywhere just yet, spooks and spookers. Coming up next, my interview with local artist Shondell McFall. Hello, spooks and spookettes. Welcome back to the second half of Count Drahoon's Feature of Fright. Of course, for this half of the show, we're changing the speed just a little bit. For this portion of the show, we are spotlighting a local artist. Now, the last 2 guests that we've had, they were musicians, and tonight, well, he is a musician, but we're not exactly spotlighting his musical talents. We're spotlighting his artistic talents, but I guess sometimes it can be a challenge. So with me tonight, my good friend Shondell McFall in his home studio. Shondell, how are you this evening?
I'm fine, Count. How are you?
I appreciate you not being so intimidated being interviewed by a vampire this evening.
I feel like I'm a creature of the night, so I feel like we have a
That we do, my friend. So, what exactly are you doing for us this evening?
Right now, I am working on a project that I've had going for a bit. It's kind of a personal project, but I'm turning this piece of wood that looks like R2-D2 from Star Wars into a vanity. A portable vanity, if you will. Something that has mirrors and lights in it. Yeah.
Alright, so art has sort of changed for me since the Renaissance period. So, can you... For me, being a novice, what exactly is a vanity again?
So, it's something that you couldn't use since you're a vampire. Vanity usually has mirrors and lights.
Oh, yeah, does me no good.
Oh yeah, it's a vanity is a lot of I forget what year they were made, but they were popular with women, and every woman's bedroom usually had a vanity, a big one usually with mirrors and lights and all sorts of pretty ones, and they look different. And this one obviously is a pretty dorky one. So yeah.
A dorky vanity. That could be an interesting entendre right there, but we won't explore that. So, Shondell, you're a man that wears many hats. But in terms of your visual artistry, what kind of artist, well, what kind of adjective best describes you as an artist? Would you say you're an abstract artist, or what would be the best descriptor word for that, if there is one?
Personally, I go for abstract, but I like to feel like I'm kind of certifiable as an artist because I don't have a particular one lane. I imagine that a lot of the things I do art-wise is like an 8-lane interstate highway. So.
That's an interesting picture I have in my mind right now. What inspires you most? What kind of gets your creative engine running?
Lots of stuff. Random things, like me seeing a weird Dorito in a chip bag.
That could cause nightmares sometimes.
Sometimes. You know, I've actually had nightmares meeting a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos before bed, so, yeah.
I also hear a combination of lobster and milk can do that to you.
I'm gonna have to put that one on the list. I think one of the biggest inspirations for me is being an insomniac, because I sleep maybe like 4 hours a night, and the rest of the time I am up writing, drawing, creating something insanely weird. But it's a lot of just being up at night, the night energy, like that weird, especially the full moon. Like we had a full moon the other night. I like overload. I couldn't even sleep. So
I'm starting to wonder about you a little bit, because a long time ago, for folks that could stay up for long periods of time, I mean, outside of the realm of you possibly being a vampire, you may also be what we like to call a somnambulist. Have you ever heard that word before?
I've heard of it once, but never again.
I've heard of a somnambulist. He slept one time for 23 years, and his name wasn't Rip Van Winkle, if you can believe that. So.
Interesting. I have had many names attached to me, but a somnambulist.
So there you go, somnambulist.
I've never had that title, but I'm definitely willing to wear it.
You might be a werewolf. I've never heard of a werewolf somnambulist combination, but you never know nowadays. You got the facial hair to back it up, so.
I'm mad hairy.
So there you go.
Plus, dogs love me because I'm crazy snippable.
So, you're like I said before, you're a very multi-talented fellow. What if you take as long as you want to? But what other sorts of talents and passions do you have outside of R2-D2 vanity drawing?
I am a musician, an artist. I write and do poetry. I actually do poetry with one of your regulars, Gregory Lannom.
Ah, a shout out to you, Mr. Lannom.
Big shout out, Greg.
Yes.
We do poetry in the brew. I actually haven't been in the last poetry in the brew for a minute, but that's because of COVID stuff and weird things. But we normally will get together on a Saturday at around 6 or 7 and do poetry, like on Zoom call. Yeah, it's super fun. I write a lot. I think before I started doing art and music and all that stuff, I mainly made up stories and wrote things, and that's a lot of where my creativity came from. Is just making stuff up. So yeah, that's one of the main things. Other than that, it's like collecting stuff. You look around the house, it's full of junk.
Well, I noticed there's a lot of treasures out and about. So, of course, we're on Troma now, and we're also on WGNSradio.com and BerrienCountyMessenger.com. So, a good chunk of our audience are horror fans, and I happen to notice there are a lot of horror posters, specifically over to my left. You can't see it on camera. We have a poster for the Toxic Avenger. Across from me, there's actually this really cool... Is it cool or cold? I can't ever remember. There's a poster for Hill House over here. Directly across behind you, I believe it's actually in the shot, there's the old movie poster for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Absolutely.
So is it safe to say that you're a creature of the night as well? You like the horror and the terrors of the night?
Anything that goes bump in the night is okay with me.
See, he fits in perfectly. That's one. So, just out of curiosity, what's your favorite horror film? I promise we're not going into Scream territory.
If we're talking, I've separated in 2 genres.
Okay.
So I've got B-movie horror, and I've got like classic, this is the real deal. For going B-movie, I would probably say that my favorite movie is Puppet Master, only because the idea of puppets freak people out, inanimate objects, stuff like that. Yeah, Puppet Master. And if I'm going mainstream, I would say probably my favorite horror movie would be Poltergeist.
Okay, very man of good taste. Excellent. So, real quick, if you have any major piece of advice for any aspiring artist, what would that be? I throw a lot of hardball questions. So.
Understandable. These are good questions. I would say that you are only as creative as the things you feed yourself, and that you should open yourself to all sorts of outlets and criteria and material, just so you can have an idea of what kind of creative juices you want to throw at the world. I mean, I myself, I know everybody else can't be open all the time, but usually most of my doors are just always open for just media material just flow through. So yeah, just be open. Like, that's how you learn and know stuff. So, yeah.
Shondell knows what he's talking about, spooks and spookettes, so make sure to heed his advice. So, what has been the most challenging project you've undertaken before? And it doesn't have to be within visual arts. It can be as a musician or anything else.
So, I would say the most challenging thing I've ever done is ongoing at the moment. I have been working on stories a big 7-part epic, and finding the inspiration to want to write stories about fictional stuff when there's so much stuff in the world already is complicated, because you're like, oh, I need an original idea. Where am I going to get that from? Anything else. But yeah, that's creating a world, a world building, probably the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm good at world building, and I think it's hard. So yeah, it's tough.
Like I've mentioned before, you wear many hats. You got a lot of irons in the fire, as it were, with all of your different creative endeavors. So, do you have multiple pages or multiple outlets for your different endeavors, or is everything sort of consolidated into one place? So, all things Shondell McFall, as it were.
It's funny you ask that. So I'm kind of archaic, like yourself. I very much am old school. It's hard for me to navigate most technological things, not because I am more because I find that there's a personal touch with doing things kind of like the way I've done them, and I have an Instagram and a Facebook, but I don't like do nearly as much communicating and networking as I do with those things as I should other stuff. Like people have Etsy's and all these other things. I don't know. I'd rather just go somewhere and make something, and then people see it, and then be like, "That looks awesome. What's your stuff? Or where you at?" So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird trying to navigate the internet with art because there's so much of it on there that you're just like, why?
And the big reason I ask is, as I mentioned in my monologue a few minutes ago, we are a platform for independent artists. So I want to make sure that we have something in the show notes page so that our audience can check out your work and give you a shout. So, if you want, if you've got a link or a page to go to, go ahead and give it to us.
So, for right now, everybody can find me at the Electric Lotus on Instagram. It's the_electric_, and Lotus. Super simple. Other than that, there's my personal Facebook. I don't have like an artist Facebook, but right now, as far as building a website, I'm working on one.
It's not fun.
No, it's not.
Even as a vampire who has a website. Well, I didn't build it. Somebody else did for me. That's the good thing about being a 1,000-year-old vampire. You get human henchmen that can do all the dirty work for you.
Absolutely. I feel like sometimes, though, it might bite.
I see what you did there. Before we started recording, he had a good pun about demonstrative. Because, you know, demon and demonstrative. Trust me, read a dictionary. It makes sense.
I'm a dad, so dad jokes just flow out of me like water.
So a master of art and dad jokes, Shondell McFall. I do have one more question. Kind of a serious one, but I feel like our audience is entitled to know.
Okay.
Are you or have you ever been a member of Tommy J and the Shondells?
So, interesting story. I have never been a part of that group. If I was, I'd probably be making more money than I am now.
You and me both.
The first time I ever encountered this dilemma with that group was I was out at the post office, and this old lady saw my name on a piece of paper, a letter, and said, "Oh, your name's Shondell. Do you know a band called Tommy James and the Shondells?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I've heard of them. Were you named after them?" And every fiber of my being wanted to say something smart aleck. Like in my head, I was like, do I look like the person who just, listens to an old 50s group that I was named after? Like, is that the type of conversation you just have with somebody just offhand? But I was polite and I told her, "No, ma'am, I'm not." But yeah, that was that. And then 4 other people, including the Count,
Sorry.
made that happen on just several different occasions. That's great. That question.
Well, I just had to make sure because so much changes in such a short amount of time. So I was about 90% sure, but I figured that style of music had sort of made its way out. But you never know. Things sort of make its way back in. So ostensibly, you could do a doo-wop album someday. So, and I wouldn't put it. Well, you just said it's not your musical weapon of choice, but maybe someday you might fall into doo-wop.
I also said to keep yourself open to things. So.
There you go. So you might find some sort of hidden inspiration in the halls of the forgotten doo-wop movement. But I said Tommy J, not Tommy James. But it's not like anybody's gonna correct me. But all right. So just out of curiosity, where are you with the progress for the vanity?
Oh man, I've still got work.
Okay.
The main thing is that I'm trying to get everything painted right now and kind of detailed on the front. Then the idea is to slowly but surely add each different parts, the handles, the outside. I'm putting little, whatever the name that dude at Lowe's told me they were, but they're gonna be like soft buffers that you put on here, and they're probably gonna have LEDs inside of them. They'll be clear, so it's like on the outside it lights up, and then I gotta install lights on the inside. You might not be able to see it. I'll pull it out here, but the inside of this is gold. So I'm gonna paint C-3PO's guts on the inside. So
Oh, beautiful.
yeah, and then there'll be a mirror in there too. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, something I, again, can't use that, but the guts part was really intriguing. All right.
I figured that would wet your whistle.
Well, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll sort of once the finished product is done, we will encapsulate that as the last image of this particular episode, and then we'll also do a little quick overview of some of the finished products that you have. But Shondell, once again, I thank you so much for sitting with me this evening, and for being brave enough to show this vampire and the rest of our spooks and spookettes everything that you have to offer for us.
You're very welcome, Count.
All right, and that'll do it for us, spooks and spookettes. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have, but be sure to join me next time for yet another feature of fright. But until then, as far as things go, when things go bump in the night, there are such things.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This here's the Grim Reaper. I want to invite you to join us on Tennessee Macabre as we stream some of the grooviest, funkiest, most psychotronic movies you've ever watched in your life. You can find us on our channel at YouTube, or you can go to the MarionCountyMessenger.com on Facebook on Saturday night at 10 p.m. Central Time, 11 Eastern, and you can stream the movie of the week. Join us. We'll be looking for you. And if you don't come, we'll find you.